Do you want to increase your credit score fast? I've got 10 easy tips to increase your credit score. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today's topic is how to increase your credit score with 10 easy tips. This was a comment left in one of my videos by Zusking at YouTube, as you can see below. Zusking wanted to know how to increase their credit score, so I made a video about it. You can leave me a comment too, and I may make a video out of your comment. Also, please like and subscribe if you like my videos. Let's get right into the video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 easy tips on how to increase your credit score. But first we're going to talk about how credit scores are calculated. It is important to know how your credit scores are calculated in order to increase your credit score. So let's talk about that for a moment. Number one, payment history on loans, credit cards, and other bills. Number two, credit utilization ratio. That's how much debt you owe compared to the amount of credit you have available. Number three, credit mix. That's the type of credit accounts you have. Number four, credit age. That's how long your credit accounts have been open. And number five, how often you apply for new credit. These are the main factors and the major factors that affect your credit score. Now, let's get into those 10 easy tips on how to increase your credit score. Stay tuned to tips 9 and 10 if you are new to having credit or you have low credit. 9 and 10 are going to be great ones, so stay tuned. Tip number one, check your credit scores online or request copies of your credit reports and scores from the three major credit bureaus. Knowing what your credit score is, in my opinion, is the most important first step in increasing your credit score. You got to be in the know. You got to know what's going on if you want to increase your credit score. So find out what your credit score is. That's tip number one. Tip number two, errors on your credit report. This is the big one. Errors on your credit report. Some major thing that people take for granted are errors in their credit report. Maybe because they're not checking their credit report. But that was tip number one. Check your credit report. If you find errors while you're monitoring your credit report, dispute them. Your credit scores could very well go up just from disputing and getting these credit errors resolved. How do credit errors end up in your credit report? There's a lot of different ways, and I'll go into that in a different video. But if you want to increase your credit score, please check for errors and dispute them. If you want a free credit report, you can get one once a year. The three major credit bureaus have come together on annualcreditreport.com. I'll leave a link down in the description so you can get a free credit report once a year. If you want to get your credit report more often than that, you can pay for it, but there's one way to get it for free once a year. So check your credit, dispute those errors, and see your scores go up. Thank you for checking out tip number two. Tip number three, credit monitoring services. Use a credit monitoring service. Some banks give you this for free. Some places you have to pay for it. But if you use a credit monitoring service, it's an easy way to find out if you've got fraud, if you've got bad things on your credit report, if you've got things that you need to dispute, like I mentioned in the previous tip. Get a credit monitoring service, again, either through your bank for free or pay for one, and you can find out things quickly, and it'll save you a lot of time, money, and hassle, and probably help you increase your credit score. That's tip number three. Tip number four, do not close your credit cards and do not close your accounts that you've had open for a long time. In fact, if you've had it open for a short time, don't close them. You can close out car loans and student loans, stuff like that. But if you've got credit accounts and other revolving credit, you want to keep that open as long as possible. Like I said in the original part of this video, having long history of credit is very important if you want to have a good credit score. So keep those accounts open as long as possible. Oh, but wait, you've got a credit card with an annual fee. Negotiate it. Ask them to lower the fee. Or ask to convert to a credit card that does not have an annual fee. Maybe a lower one in the same class. That way you can get rid of that fee and keep the account open. I stress this strongly. If you want a good credit score, you need a long credit history. Keep those accounts open as long as possible. That's tip number four. Tip number five, credit mix. Have a good credit mix. You want to have a situation where you've got lots of different accounts from lots of different creditors, and that's going to increase your credit score if you have a good credit mix. Examples of credit is obviously credit cards, loans, car loans, student loans, mortgages, stuff like that. But it could also be utility bills. It could also be cell phone bills. Have a good credit mix and have things that are reporting your credit and make sure you're paying those bills on time. Make sure you're paying them on time. So having a good credit mix with your bills paid on time is going to make sure your credit score is going to go up. And that's tip number 5. Tip number 6, only apply for credit accounts as needed. You may go into a store and they may send you some flashy offer when you walk in, get $40 off of a boat or something else if you're going to go ahead and apply for their credit card. Don't if you don't have to. If it's not a store you frequent very often, or if it's not something you think you're going to use, do not apply for it. Skip the $40. Only apply for credit accounts you're going to use. You don't want 30 accounts out there you're not using with no history on them and no payment history on them. So please, do not apply for credit accounts you're not going to use. That's tip number 6. Tip number 7, pay off your debts and keep your credit balances low. Like I said, credit ratio, that's the credit balance compared to your credit limit, is a very big factor in what is happening with your credit score. I have seen my credit card balance go up $2,000-3,000 and my credit score go down 20 points. That may not happen to you. That may not be an accurate assumption for everybody, but it's happened to me. Keep your balances low and keep your debts paid. And if you do that, you'll see your credit scores go up. It's a really important factor, and that's tip number 7. Tip number 8. I know I mentioned it earlier in another tip, but it's got to be its own tip because this is a big one. Pay your bills on time. Don't let those bills slide. Somebody said in a sitcom a long time ago, pay the bills marked final notice and throw the rest away. Don't listen to that garbage. Pay your bills on time. Pay them early if you can, but pay your bills on time if you want to see your credit score go up. You want to have a good credit history. You don't want 30 days, 60 days, 90-day marks on your credit history for not having your bills paid. Pay them on time, pay them as soon as possible, and your credit score will go up. Thank you for tip number 8. And as promised, tips number 9 and 10 are, if you're new to having credit or have low credit scores, good tips for you. Tip number 9. If you're having a hard time getting a credit card or a hard time getting a loan at all, get a secured credit card. A lot of banks offer a secured credit card. What is a secured credit card? You put down a deposit. They make that deposit your credit line. At some point in the future, you're going to get that deposit back. But for the time being, your credit line is your deposit. And it goes on your credit report as good history if you're making your payments on time. And if you keep a long credit history, that's beneficial too. So like I said, tip number 9, open a secured credit card. If you're new to credit or have low scores and are having a hard time getting credit, open a secured credit card. Tip number 9, that's a great one. Tip number 10, one of my favorites, become an authorized user. A lot of banks don't have limits of age on making your kids authorized users or you becoming an authorized user. If you're young and don't have credit, go and ask your parents if you can be an authorized user on their credit card. If you're responsible and you're going to pay your bills on time and you're going to make sure you're making the right decisions with their guidance, become an authorized user on their credit card with their permission, of course. You're going to have to go through them to do that. But if you do that, it's going to give you an early opportunity to have a long credit history and good payment history if they're making and you're making the payments on time. It's also going to teach you how to use credit, and they're going to teach you how to use credit because they want their credit history and their credit card payments to go in on time and be good too. I've got 2 small children. I made them authorized users on my credit cards, and when they are of age to be able to get their own credit accounts, they are going to have a credit history on their credit accounts. Now, bear in mind, this may not be for everybody. If you don't agree with this, don't do it. If you don't agree with this, don't do it. But if you do agree with it and you want your kids to have a good credit history, or you're someone who's young and you want to have a good credit history, become an authorized user on your parent's credit account, and you will have a credit history before you turn of age. Very important tip, very good tip. Again, if you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But if you do want to do it, do it. And that's tip number 10. Thank you for watching and have a great day.